Are you a company looking for someone to help them with their content? Why not try out GL Pro? GL Pro are a business based in London that help lots of companies like yours develop content for the web, whether it's film, audio, podcasts, or even website design. Get in contact with them today for a free consultation on www.glpro.co.uk. Sanj Surati Talks. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to episode 3 of Sanj Surati Talks. We have got someone fantastic for you today. She is an amazing actor who I've had the pleasure of working with over the last few years. She's also on the same agency as me, which is Red Door Vision. I'd like to introduce you guys to the wonderful Roz Brierley.
Yes. Hello.
How you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. I'm very well. I'm so happy that I got your name right because I was worried that I'd get it wrong and then, everyone would be like, what's going on,
A lot of people say Brierley.
Really? But how is it pronounced?
It's Brierley.
Brierley. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Roz, you're a very talented actor. Tell us about yourself.
So, yeah, thank you very much for that. I'm flattered. So my name's Roz. I've grown up actually in Indonesia, but I'm basically from London. My parents are English, and I've lived in London pretty much all of my life, apart from living abroad. And yes, I've been acting professionally for about 6 years now. My background is actually in television production, but I had a career change when I was about 30, so that gives away my age. So I've always been interested in acting, and I've done a lot of amateur things in the past, but never pursued it professionally before. I have a particular interest in comedy acting. That's my kind of niche, I think, if I were to pick one.
So what was it that basically led you to pursuing acting as a career?
Well, it was approaching 30, having one of those midlife crisis moments. And I've always loved acting, and I had just sort of given it up for a while and just focused on my career in production. And I wanted to start a new hobby. So I said to myself, right, January of this year, I'm going to start a new hobby and I'm going to go to some acting classes again. And I just absolutely love it. It really is my passion. And I love first of all, I love entertaining, which sounds so cringe, but I do like telling a story. I also find humans really interesting and behaviour really interesting. And I think letting myself be whoever I want to be in a way, or whoever the part is really fun to me. And I thought, wow, if I can get paid to do something that I absolutely love, then it's a winner. So I thought, well, why not? You only live once. So I thought I'd go for it.
Amazing. And then, so just with regards to your acting career, what was your first gig?
Well, I started off doing some student films. So, you've got to start somewhere. And then my first professional gig was actually, it was a corporate thing for a company who were producing a film about bullying.
Wow.
And so I had to be a bullied young girl.
Wow. So when you say bullying, so was that bullying in the office space or bullying in the business space? Wow.
Yes, bullying in the office. So I had to essentially create a sort of monologue to camera as if I were recounting my experiences. So that's
amazing.
Yeah, that was my first paid gig, and then sort of gone from there really. And I did student films. It then sort of led on to other short films which were paid, and through that you kind of make the connections, and then they'll remember you for something that you did before, and they'll say, oh, I've got a part that might suit you in this, do you want to audition for it? And things have sort of snowballed in that way really for me. So that's really good.
So just, I know we're kind of backtracking a little bit, but just going back to this corporate film you made about bullying, this was like the first kind of big paid opportunity that you've been given.
Yeah.
How much preparation did you get beforehand before you were in front of the camera?
I had about 2 days.
Wow.
And they didn't give me the script until I was on set. And that was interesting because it wasn't like they were like, here you go, learn it. They were just like, this is the general vibe. And they actually put an auto cue behind the camera as well. So they said, if you sort of forget where you're going, then you can sort of look at that as a prompt. But they let me kind of ad lib and improvise a bit, which I find I quite like that because I feel like I can make it more my own and therefore more believable.
Absolutely. So you were kind of thrown in the deep end a little bit.
A little bit, yes.
How did you kind of hone into the development of that character? Like, was it something that you'd experienced in your past, or did you have to kind of do a bit of research, or both, or what was the process?
I did some research on bullying before I went in. I've never been bullied, so that was something that I really had to learn about pretty quickly. And I asked actually a friend of mine who was bullied as part of my research how she felt and what sort of behavioural patterns she had, little things like, being when you're sort of insecure, you start sort of playing with your hands a bit and things like that. And
wow,
were particularly the most emotive, things for her when it came to bullying. And so I just kind of tried to sort of imagine how that would feel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then did you, when you were given this opportunity, like, how did you feel?
Oh, I was chuffed to bits because I'm chuffed to bits when I get any opportunity. I think, there are obviously limits, but but mostly I'm grateful to have the opportunity to act, and whether it's paid or not, frankly, it doesn't bother me so much. I love the experience and I love getting more material. So yeah, I was really, really chuffed to be given a job that I was paid for, which when you're starting out as an actor, it's actually quite amazing to get that.
Absolutely. I mean, so I was in a very similar boat to you. So I didn't start acting professionally until I was in my late 30s. And I kind of jumped into it. And within a few months, I started getting things. And one of my first auditions was for Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin. And I managed to get a one-line role in that film. They didn't use the piece that I did ultimately. It ended up going in the bloopers DVD section, which is a bit annoying. But I just remember that feeling of, oh, I've only just got into this acting thing, and already I'm doing something that I find exciting. And I'd had friends who'd been actors for decades longer than I'd been an actor, who'd never been given that opportunity. And I just found that experience just as you say, just really exciting and fun, and being paid to do something that you love.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the dream, isn't it? Everyone would love to just go to work every day and be paid to do something that's enjoyable to them. So yeah, I thought, well, I need to get paid for this.
Yeah. And so since then, you said you've been doing this for 6 years now.
Yeah.
That was your first gig, and now you're doing regular things, right?
Yeah. So most of my work has been short films, actually, which I love. I love sort of screen work, but then I say that, and then I think, no, I do actually love stage stuff as well. I love the buzz you get being on stage. I love the you can be a little bit more free, I think, when you're on stage, because you can everything's a bit bigger, isn't it? Like when you're on screen, you have to bring it right down, be very natural, which I love. I love that kind of acting, the real natural kind of down to earth acting. But then I also love the fun being on stage and being a thespian, as it were.
Yeah, it's definitely a different art form, isn't it? The stagecraft. Like stagecraft is you're kind of on that continuum. So when it starts, you're just kind of following the clock, which is it has its charm. Whilst with film and TV, you have to kind of condense that moment into that short opportunity that can happen. You know, sometimes people are very good with time on set, but usually no one knows what the hell's going on. So you're kind of having to always be on edge, so that when you get to that moment where they call action, you can kind of nail it. But then even then you don't, or you're not prepared, or you sometimes are prepared, or you know.
Yeah, so it's a lot. It's really tough, actually. I think it's for me anyway. It's harder to do film and TV work because of that exact reason. Just that you're constantly waiting for your moment. You never know when that's going to be, and when it happens, you've got to do it straight away. You've got to do it quickly. You've got to be on form immediately.
Yeah.
You've got other people there who can, you know, like the crew and everything. They're all relying on you. I think the pressure's a lot higher in TV stuff.
Absolutely. Did you say you were born in Indonesia, or you grew up in Indonesia?
I grew up there. So I was born in England, and my family moved out there when I was, I want to say 2.5, maybe 3. I honestly lose track. I was very young. Yeah, we went out there for my dad's job, and I lived there for 6 years.
Wow. Okay. Did you move straight back to London?
Yes.
I remember you mentioning that you were kind of like South London based. Is that right?
Yeah. So we lived in Croydon, South Croydon. And so if you hear a twang in my voice, that's probably where it's from. And then now I live in Southwest London.
Amazing. And then so with regards to your acting career, that you're a London-based actor, or have you done acting abroad as well?
No, I've only ever acted in London. Yeah. I'd absolutely love to go to LA or New York and give it a go over there. But then there's the whole visa issue. Which is
it's a completely different thing. Yeah. I mean, I just from doing my stand-up comedy, I went out to LA February last year because I've got a friend who lives there, and I stayed with her, and I did a couple of shows, and the aim was to kind of take my acting portfolio and try and get it in front of a few people. And I was there for a week. I mean, what I do love about LA is it's a city made for entertainment, and you know, you can have a conversation with someone, and you could be having a conversation with someone, you know, within the circle that you need to be in very quickly. But I did realize quite quickly there, if you want to make it in LA, you need to spend a lot of time in LA, you know, like whether it's a year or a couple of years. And a couple of my friends who were London based have moved out there. They've been there some of them have been there for like 5 or 6 years, you know.
Yeah.
And even now, you know, some of them have got work, but it's still hard work, you know.
It is. It's tough. I mean, there's just tons of people over there that want to act, and the competition is enormous. But also, because I went out there for a month a couple of years ago, actually it probably was about 4 years ago, and just did some workshops and got in front of some casting directors and stuff, and the only thing that they care about is, do you have a visa? If you haven't got a visa to work there, they're not going to even consider you. So
yeah, I get that.
That was, you know, but I also found that they're a lot more open to new talent over there, from my experience anyway. They just seem to be a lot more keen and to get in front of people that don't have that much experience. Whereas in the UK, I find it a little bit more cliquey, shall I say? I mean, I don't know if I should talk about that. But...
No, of course. I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's some actors, like big actors who are from London or the UK, who have said, I didn't make it until I went out to LA. And it's to do with the mindset of the British film situation. And, you know, I mean it with respect. It's a harder equation to crack here, I think. Whilst out there, and I've been there for acting, I've been there for comedy, I've been out to LA for all sorts of things, but particularly within the entertainment sector, you can have a strong conversation that can blossom into something very quickly out there. It's definitely harder here, from my opinion. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I definitely found that. So I think you go out there, and I think you have loads of. If I was to go out there to try and break into the industry, I think I'd be really confident that I was going to get somewhere, just because the whole buzz of the place, it makes you feel like you're doing something, even if you're not even doing something. And the fact that they are open to seeing new talent. And, in the UK, I just kind of find that sometimes it gets a bit stale. You see the same actors in the same types of programs just circulating. And I just think, God, wouldn't it be nice if they put a few, new faces in this program or whatever. So, it's a tough one, but hopefully one day we'll get there, Sanj.
Yeah, well, you just got to keep working hard at it. It's not something that happens overnight for anyone. You've got to hone your craft. You've got to, be part of the process of making content, whether it's a film, TV, theatre, or whatever. So let's talk about auditions. You've been an actor in London for about 6 years now. I've been on loads of auditions. You've been on loads of auditions. Let's talk about that. What's been your most memorable audition?
Oh, my most memorable. I've had some very odd castings. I have had mainly for commercials. They're the sort of odd ones, because you're asked to put yourself in a situation that just doesn't exist, and it's totally random. For example, I went into a room once and there was a plastic chair, and I had to pretend it was my sofa. So for a start, that was weird. And I had to sit there and look happy. That was what they asked me to do.
Oh,
so
God.
Sit on my sofa and look happy. Now, for me, I was like, what? For me, if I'm sitting on my sofa, I'm watching telly, probably with crumbs all over me and everything. I don't sit on my sofa and look happy. So it was a really odd thing to do. So I sort of sat on the chair, and I must have looked so awkward. But needless to say, I did not get the job. But I found things like that really strange. And another thing that I've had for a commercial was I had to burst through a door that didn't exist and see a car in front of me and run towards it. It's a tiny room of about 3 meters squared, and I had to burst through an imaginary door and run towards a car. So random things like that. But I also, I've had some really good auditions where I felt like really good about them. And I've had a great audition actually for the Royal Lifeboat Institution. I think it's the RNLI.
Wow.
I had to, because one of my skills that you put down on your CV is that I'm a strong swimmer. And so they were looking for strong swimmers to essentially drown in this commercial. And I had to go into a water tank and fall into this water tank. And then there was an underwater cameraman there. And I had to basically drown. And I did a lot of research for that, actually, because I wanted to know what happens to the body when you drown and everything. It was really morbid, but
it's amazing.
It was so much fun. I had such a good day doing that. And so I've had some random.
Where was the drowning audition?
That was in, I can't remember exactly, but it was definitely South London somewhere.
Was it like in a swimming pool?
Yeah, it was it was specifically an underwater filming
space,
pool, as it were. Yeah, I think divers go there to learn how to dive. So it was specifically for learning.
Wow, that's cool. And did you get the gig?
I did, and then they pulled the ad, so I didn't even end up doing it. But I was really pleased that I got it, because it proved to me that if you research a character and you work on it, and then go there, then you're confident that you're doing the right thing. And
I mean that's the kind of hard thing about what we do, especially through the audition process, the build up to the film process, the moment when they say, right, you've made it to the next level, and you're like, it's not until, you've seen the edit and the edit's been aired, whether it's like a film or a television show or an advert, it's not until like a couple of years after you've gone through this emotional turmoil that you truly kind of acknowledge how great something is. You know, at any moment they can just pull the plug, which is really frustrating sometimes.
It's so frustrating. Yeah. And there's so many things that are outside of your control. I think, you know, if I was going to give advice to somebody who wanted to go into acting, I would say don't stress about things, because don't let it get to you. There are so many factors that are nothing to do with your talent that will affect whether you get the job or not. And yeah, so you can't take it personally if you don't get something. And that's kind of, I think, the main important thing to making it in this industry, is not taking things personally.
Absolutely. And I think that's the great thing about jumping into this industry at our age, which is like when we hit our kind of 30s, is that you're already an adult. You've already defined your barriers, you know, how you deal with things.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I've never been a child actor, but I think there's a lot of pressures that some of the younger people that I've been working with, they're just not prepared to deal with that, and it can really destroy them, you know?
No, and that's something, what you've just said is so spot on, because I don't think I could have coped with this industry in my early 20s. No way. I think I would have taken it all so personally. It would have really depressed me. Whereas now I'm like, do you know what? There are way more important things and way more stressful things in life than not getting an acting job. So, and I've experienced things that are way worse than that. So it doesn't really, I kind of just, let it wash over me.
Yeah, just from being a stand-up comic, especially when I started, you're constantly having to deal with the pressures of rejection, not in the same way, but it's, people are either going to laugh at your joke or not. And I find now, whether I have a good audition or a bad audition, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that I'm there, that I'm, that I've turned up to give it a go. That's what matters,
And you also never know in the future what they might remember you for. You might not have been right for that role, but they might be like, okay, noted. And then in the future, they might be like, oh, let's get that guy back in.
That's the beauty of this industry, is that you have to be in it to kind of nurture the opportunity. There are gems out there. You just need to find them before you can polish them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm open to anything really, within reason, obviously. But, I'm open to doing pretty much anything, because you just never know where that will lead. And, I don't care about being embarrassed. If someone showed me something that I've done that is absolute rubbish, I'll just laugh. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
To be, mortified like that just doesn't really bother me. So I'm quite happy to give everything a go and see where it leads to.
Also, that that expression is subjective. Like something that you do that you may not be proud of may instill wonder in someone else in another way.
Right.
And it's that connection that I think is more important than thinking about what that connection can do.
Yeah.
So we talked about auditions. Talk to me about like some of the casting agents you met. So the reason why I asked that is just from my experience, and I've done my fair share of auditions. For me, I can tell whether I'm going to get a call back or not if I feel like there's a connection between me and the casting team. I don't know if you've ever felt that before.
I've felt that, but then I've also felt that, and I've been totally wrong. I'm absolutely useless at trying to work out whether they like me or not. One minute I'll think, oh no, they definitely didn't like me because they just won't say a word, and then I'll get penciled for the job. And then, I don't know. There's other times where I think, oh yeah, I think they really like me, and I don't hear anything. So, I mean, for me, it's absolutely, hit and miss. I have no idea. So that's why I try and just go in, do my best. And I just try and think, if I'm right for the job, I'll get it. And that's it, really. But so much depends on, other things like what you look like and also, how you perform on the day. Obviously, sometimes I go in and I fluff it completely. And I just think, well, if I was the casting director, I wouldn't give me the job. So...
Yeah, I mean, majority of the time, the casting team know what they're kind of looking for and have a kind of eye on a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And you can walk in and you can just kind of feel that they're not they don't feel you'll be right for that role. But then there's times have gone in, I can kind of feel like there's this kind of antichrist view of what I'm doing, and then it's not until I perform that they're like, wow, actually, yeah, let's give this guy a go, you know.
No, I've had many different types of people in the room, some that make me feel really comfortable, some that make me feel really uncomfortable, but you know, that's all part of the fun. I think it's so interesting being an actor. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every day is a joy, and you know, certain days you just think, God, this is hard, you know, why am I doing this, you know, just to be rejected again. But that is the life of every single jobbing actor I know. I can't think of any actor who doesn't get rejected on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like that. You just have to push through those rubbish down days, and then better days do come.
Yeah. So going back to the jobs that you have done, what's been your most favourite role that you've ever played?
So probably the best thing that I feel like I've worked on was a comedy pilot called Pass the Buck, and it was written by Andy Ash, who I think is hilarious. I think he's a really good writer, and he wrote the thing that we actually first met on.
Oh yes, yeah. So for you guys listening, Roz and I met on the set of a show called Floodlights. Is it Floodlights?
Yes, Floodlight.
Yeah, a kind of sitcom based a sports agency office. Is that right?
Yep, that was right.
Andy Ash wrote that before Floodlight or after Floodlights?
He wrote that before.
So, okay.
Yeah, I'd worked with Andy on Pass the Buck, which was, it was so funny. I had such a laugh, and we filmed. I was basically playing his girlfriend in the. He was in it as well. He was the main character.
Right.
And it was really funny. I really enjoyed it, and that's the best thing I've worked on, just because I really like the cast and crew. I thought the script was great, and that's the dream, isn't it? You know, to get on something that you really like the script of, and that actually at the end you're really proud of.
Absolutely.
Proud of being a part of it.
And so let's talk about Andy. So how do you know Andy Ash?
Oh, just I auditioned for the comedy pilot, and that was it. And then I got the role, and then that's how we met. And then through that, he's given me other roles as well. So
awesome. And with regards to Pass the Buck, so how many episodes did you film on that?
We only filmed one. Because he was completely funding it himself.
Yeah.
And I think he, you know, like many people in our industry, he had a day job as an editor, and I think he just basically got sucked back into that and maybe didn't promote it, or maybe, I think, to be honest, he just wanted to make it for himself, because he did it and wanted to make it. So, you know, so it didn't go anywhere, but it had so much potential. I would champion that program for days.
Anyone listening, if they wanted to see that episode of Pass the Buck, what's the best way to see it?
Oh, I don't know. I think it might be on Vimeo, but honestly, no, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think I've got Andy's email somewhere. So after we've recorded this, I'll email him and see if I can put that a link in the liner notes, because you know, people should check it out. Yeah. And then we met on Floodlight because you had a part on that. I was actually just a paid extra on that. Like I was just in the office walking around and stuff. I signed with Red Door Vision, I think the summer after that shoot, and you're with Red Door Vision as well.
Yes. Yeah, I signed with them at the beginning of this year.
How did you find the Red Door Vision team?
So I was at the BFI with a couple of friends, and one of them, I was writing to agents and trying to get representation, and one of them said to me, "Oh, well, you should get in touch with these people," and gave me a contact of Cassie, who works there. And so I emailed her and sent her my show reel and, you know, spotlight details and everything. And then I met Ian and Cassie at the BFI again, maybe about a week later, and we just had a chat and talked about the kind of things that I enjoyed doing, and they told me a bit about themselves and kind of had a sort of informal interview, and then I signed with them very shortly after.
Is Red Door Vision the first agency that you've been with, or were you with one before?
I was with one before, but that kind of fizzled out, really. I took a break from acting for a couple of years. I don't know if you know, but my parents were actually killed in a car crash.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. At the beginning of 2018. And obviously, I mean, it was life-changing for me. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't, work. I couldn't even think about doing any acting or anything. I just had to kind of take a break and just heal, I suppose. And so it was the beginning of this year that I was like, right, I need to get back into this. So that's when I kind of started writing to agents, because that's when my previous agent I just stopped everything. It just sort of fizzled out. So and then Red Door Vision, they're lovely. I think they're great. So.
Yeah, I mean, I signed with them, I think, last summer, and I had an agent the year before that who, I mean, she's brilliant, but I didn't feel like I was right for her stable, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And I've heard that. I've heard lots of my actor friends have been in scenarios where they're with an agency, and in their head they think that this is the way for them to go, that's going to help them to get to the next level, and it just doesn't really solidify. I said goodbye to her, but through my stand-up, I met a comedian who had just got an agent, and she said, you need to talk to Red Door Vision. And I had a meeting with those guys, and like yourself, it just feels like a breath of fresh air. It's just nice to have someone in your corner that feels like they believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely. I've met with a few agents, and by far these are the most genuine, down to earth, hardworking ones that I've met. So for me, it felt like an instant kind of click, and I'm really happy with them.
Roz, like I'm really happy that you opened up about just that moment in your life where things have changed.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do need to kind of reflect and think about the direction you're going in, and it's just nice when you're kind of whisked into a positive direction after something so tragic like that. Which is brilliant. So, I'm glad to be in the same circle as you, because I've seen you act, you're a fantastic actor. And it was just quite interesting, actually, because after you and I had worked on Floodlight, I remembered everyone on that crew, but I did remember you. And then when Red Door Vision announced that you were on their books, I was like, oh God, yeah, like Roz, like I met her before. So it's just kind of random,
Yeah, it's so random. Small world.
Small world. I mean, I believe in fate, so it was meant to happen. Just with regards to you at the moment and the current COVID-19 lockdown, how has that affected you as an actor over since it started?
Well, I think, to be honest, it kind of just put everything on hold a little bit. I've done a couple of self-tapes, but other than that, everything's gone on hold for me. And in a way, that's quite nice, because it just, it's that little break from life that you need. But obviously, financially, it's not ideal. but yeah, it is. It means, I don't even know what to say. Everything's just stopped.
Yeah, it's like the worldwide pause.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
bizarre.
And it, at first I was a bit like, oh no. Well, it was quite annoying, really, because I had I was penciled for a job, and then it happened. Yeah, so that was a bit gutting, because I was like, oh damn it. But yeah, it's life. Hopefully it will resume when life goes back to normal. But yeah, I think it's just made me stop and think again, do I want to be doing this? And yes is the answer.
That's good.
Yeah. Every time it's yes. So yeah. And I've been watching, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've been watching a lot of Netflix, obviously.
Hell yeah.
It's almost like, I feel like that is in a way part of our work. Well, that's how I excuse it anyway.
Research.
I watch it and I think it inspires me because I think I want to be on a show like that. That would be amazing. And B, I feel like I learn a lot about, because I watch things now, just watching how people are acting, and what I think is good acting and what I think isn't such good acting. And, I think that's really interesting, and important part of our job. So that's what I'm going to say.
What can you kind of recommend on Netflix that you've watched recently?
Oh, I'm currently obsessed with Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Love that show. I think that's one of the most underrated shows that's out at the moment. Like, it's incredible.
So good. Yeah, it's so good. And it's funny because I never really got into Breaking Bad. I watched it all, but I don't know if it was just like, sometimes you watch something at a different time and you enjoy it way more than the first time you watched it. But
yeah,
I just couldn't really connect with the characters, whereas on this I feel like I just love the characters. I think they're brilliant, especially obviously Jimmy and Saul.
Bob Odenkirk is a fantastic improv comedian. He's just a great actor. He's got so much charisma on camera, but then just the ensemble that's around him, like the lady that's playing Kim and the baddies in that are just really just incredible.
Such a good cast. Yeah, really well written as well.
Yeah, you watched it last night, right?
Oh, I haven't watched the finale, so don't tell me anything.
Okay, I won't say anything. In fact, we shouldn't really say anything about it. But if you're listening to this, watch Better Call Saul. It's a fantastic show.
Highly recommend.
What else have you been watching?
Oh, goodness. Well, I do watch a lot of trash, I'm not going to lie. But in terms of acting, what else? Ozark is good.
Yeah. So did you watch the last season?
Yes. I think that's the best one yet.
Yeah. So I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the guy that plays the mother's brother. The guy who...
he's fantastic.
Yeah. That was like one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life.
I agree. He was so, so good. He made me Google who he was. So
yeah.
Someone makes me do that, then it's either because they're really good or really bad.
No, absolutely. And then what else have you been watching?
Oh wow.
Did you see Tiger King?
Oh yes, I've seen Tiger King. My goodness. That was something else. And
go on, sorry.
For you. I mean, God love America, because it does create some entertainment, doesn't it?
So there was two stats I read about it today. One of them was that it's as popular as Stranger Things, which is a bold statement. And then apparently, since it was aired, I think it aired on the 20th of March, it's been watched by 68 million Netflix accounts.
Good grief.
Which is just phenomenal. I mean, obviously we're on lockdown, so people are watching stuff, but it's just crazy.
It is crazy. And there's a lot of interesting documentaries, shall we say, on Netflix.
Yeah. I'm just so glad that they've disrupted the film food chain. They've kind of created these new little golden eras of film and TV and documentaries and comedies, and people are consuming visual arts in ways they've never consumed before, and it's because of companies like Netflix, which is just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love a documentary. In fact, when I was I studied television production, and one of my favorite things to do was to produce documentaries. That was what I thought I was going to end up going into. So yeah, I'm a real documentary fiend. I would love Louis Theroux's job. How cool would that be? All those people, interesting people that you get to go and meet. Yeah.
We're going to sort of touch on the art form of being an actor. So have you got any advice for anyone that wants to be an actor?
Aside from the whole prepare yourself for a tough ride, and that kind of thing, in terms of the actual art of acting, I think be true, as generic as that sounds, just be true to the reality of the character. So, and let yourself go as well. That's something that I think every actor needs to be able to be vulnerable and to do things that you would be like, oh God, I can't do that. It's too embarrassing. But you actually have to just go there and embarrass yourself, because that is reality, and that is, you know, humanity. Humanity, is that the right word? I don't know. People.
Yeah.
What is people?
But it's just be open to the fact that you need to create some sort of empathetic connection with your audience, you know, and so people need to really see the character and engage with that character.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the one thing that I would always say is in the forefront of my mind when I'm acting is this believable? And if it's not, then I have to work something out why it's not, because it really bothers me if I'm acting and I feel like I'm not buying this, or I don't know, like I'm not quite in it. It sounds difficult to explain, but sometimes I just know when it's believable and when it isn't.
Absolutely. Who are your influences as an actor?
Oh, do you know, I love Meryl Streep. I think she's absolutely amazing. And also, I think I look like her a bit. I'm going to put it out there. Just flatter myself in the process. But yeah, I do love Meryl Streep. I think she's absolutely amazing. I mean, he's, you know, as like popular opinion as that is, he is an amazing actor.
Incredible.
He really is. And I mean, he is one of those like natural talents, isn't he? He's just born with that talent. Who else has influenced me? I wouldn't say Ricky Gervais has influenced me as such, because obviously I don't want to like copy his character or anything, but I love the stuff that he's written. I think is so real and natural, and hilarious in the process. I mean, The Office for me was just absolutely, you know, wetting myself laughing at every.
Yeah, I mean, he's biblical, isn't he? From a creative point of view in television, he's just stood the test of time, and he's delivered things that are just culturally relevant. You know, that everyone can kind of look back and go, "Wow!" You know, even people that hate him are like, God, that's incredible." You know.
Yeah, they got respect for him at least. Yeah. But he for me is he can create comedy out of just everyday life, and that's what I like. I don't like comedy that, for me, there's a lot of comedy that's very forced, and it's like trying to be funny. Where I love the fact that in the beginning, at least, you know, things like The Office, they weren't trying to be funny. It was just almost, it was so real. And so cringe that it's like, yes, I've been in a situation like this, and that reminds me of my old boss, and you know that I worked with a person like that, and see the humour in everyday life, and I love that sort of comedy.
Absolutely. As an actor, you mentioned that you did some acting classes.
Yes.
What acting classes did you do?
I did acting classes at Sylvia Young, the stage school, and I did an acting course at the Actors Centre in London with Vicky Jones. She's brilliant. And I've done all sorts, actually. Lots of workshops, just learning as much as I possibly can, keeping everything fluid, you know, so I don't go a bit stale.
Out of all of the acting classes that you've done, which is the one that's really kind of had the biggest influence on you?
There was one, I mean, this is probably not great to say, but there was one where it was acting for TV and screen, and I basically had to do a really emotional piece to camera, or, you know, with the camera on me, but I was talking to somebody else, and I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get into it, and the woman was trying to get me to get into it, and I just couldn't, and she just kept pushing me to the point where I actually was crying, because
oh god,
he was pushing me, but you know, it looked like I was actually, you know, in that part, in that moment, but I was genuinely crying because she'd been pushing me so much. I was like, I can't do it. Actually, it looked like I was giving an amazingly emotional performance.
With regards to Spotlight, how long have you been on Spotlight for?
For about 5 years.
Cool. And how did you find out about Spotlight?
Well, I knew that it was essential, pretty much, for being a professional actor. So I looked at, what you have to do really to get on there, get the professional credits, and made myself get those credits, basically.
Awesome. And has it been a positive experience for you?
Yes, definitely, because being on there, it kind of makes you, it opens you up to a lot of roles that you wouldn't be open to if you weren't on there.
Just with regards to what's going on with COVID-19, Spotlights is kind of like the epicenter of where the talent pool is and how they connect with casting agents, casting directors, etc. With what's going on with COVID-19 at the moment, how has that affected that process?
Well, everything's slowed down a lot, I've noticed. They're still putting out roles, but, you could do a self-tape and then you might not hear the result for about, 6 months. Who knows with what's going on in the world, when things are actually going to happen. But I've heard a lot of things that people have been, filming things themselves in their houses and small dramas, things like that. And certainly their parts are being lined up for the future, I think. But in terms of like actually going out to auditions, obviously that's just not happening at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing lots of self-tapes now and lots of like audio tapes and stuff, which is interesting. I mean, I kind of like that a bit better because you can kind of prepare yourself a little bit more naturally whilst, when you're on your way to an audition, you've got to go somewhere and you've got to deal with the kind of politics of getting into a building and the politics of the people around you whilst you're waiting to get into that audition and all of that. Sometimes it can kind of shift your focus a little bit when really you just want to focus on that audition.
Yeah, I do. I like doing self-tapes, but I'm one of those people that it's never good enough. So I just keep doing it over and over and over. I need to learn just be like, okay, that was good. Stop now, send it. But like as if I was sort of in an audition, but I just think, oh no, maybe I could do that bit a bit better. Oh no, let me just do it one more time, and then I end up spending the entire day doing one 3-line scene or something.
So it's interesting you say that, and this is a question I wanted to bring in, wondering how you'll interpret this, but you kind of touched on it with regards to when you're doing the tapes. As an actor, how do you manage ego?
Oh, my ego. Well, I would say I don't. I mean, I probably do have a big ego, just naturally. I don't know. But I would say I don't have a problem with that. I don't like if I can't do something or I feel like I can't do something, I sort of work out why it is I can't do it and work on that. And sometimes I do, my ego is damaged a little when I watch something and I'm like, this is just dreadful, Roz, what on earth? But then, and you do kind of then start to doubt yourself a lot of the time, especially if, in isolation and you're just doing self-tapes by yourself and you're just sort of looking at it and you're thinking, God, is this good? I don't know if it's good. You kind of lose all sense of what is good and what isn't. But then you have to then go back to what I was saying earlier. It just let it be, it will, either you're right or you're not right. And that's the way I look at it. And I just always try and do my best. Something that I'm, say if I had to show somebody, I wouldn't be mortified showing them, I'd be like, okay, this is what I've done. And I'm vaguely proud of it. And then that's where I think, okay, well, there we are. And then, yeah, my ego isn't really a problem because like I say, I don't think I should get every single job because I'm amazing. I don't think like that. I just do my best and yeah, okay, if I didn't get it, then so well, there we are. Someone else was obviously more appropriate.
I wasn't trying to insinuate that you have a big ego.
No, I know.
You meet a lot of actors doing what you do, whether you're waiting in a holding area or whatever, or you're on set with a big group or whatever. And one of the guys I met, a really cool guy, he mentioned to me, it's like, don't strive for perfection, strive for excellence. So, because if you strive for perfection, you'll never get from A to B, whilst you just kind of focus on doing, as you say, the best you can, and then moving forward, you'll kind of get through that a lot better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You you can't, spend entire life making something perfect, because literally you'll get nowhere. And you don't get that opportunity. If you go on set, you've just got to get it done. And then, so you might as well learn that skill of getting something done and doing it confidently and to the best of your ability in a short space of time, because that is actually of, the acting world.
Absolutely. Roz, we have come to the end of the podcast. How are you feeling?
Oh, I feel good.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, thank you. Yes.
Awesome. No, we've enjoyed you being part of it. If anyone listening wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Probably Twitter or Instagram. I'm on both of those as Roz Brierley, RozBrierley. Anyone who is interested. Probably I'm probably most active on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, look, Roz, you've been brilliant. I really appreciate you joining us for this. I think there's lots of wisdom in there for anyone that's, thinking about acting or is currently acting at the moment and just wants to kind of refocus their kind of direction. There's lots of stuff there that you talked about, which is great. So thank you so much for that.
I am an old hag now, so.
No, you're not. Stop saying that. You've got no ego. You're not a hag. It's brilliant. All right. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for listening. Again, anyone listening to this, if you want to share anything, please share on the hashtag Sanj Surati Talks. That'd be brilliant. This has been episode 3. I've been Sanj Surati. You've been listening to me talking to the wonderful Roz Brierley.
Whoop, whoop.
And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much.